another episode of She Her Dyke. And today we got Nalo on here.
That's good.
Founder of Black Girl Masculine and Blackwater Rebellion podcast. So we just gonna chop it up with her for a little bit. So yeah, let's hop in.
Slight. What up, homie?
What's good, man? What's good? It's good to see you both. Y'all doing all right?
Yo, doing all right. Yo, it's good to see you. It's good to see you.
Appreciate it. I appreciate y'all having me. I love the podcast. I definitely have y'all on my list that I cycle through and I gotta, drive to work or my morning routine or whatever. You feel me? When I'm chilling.
Yeah.
So I appreciate this space for sure too. Definitely.
Appreciate you joining us, yo.
No doubt. Anytime for the fan.
So
but go ahead.
Start Black Girl Masculine.
So I started Black Girl Masculine in 2016, and I started it because it was kind of like around the time that Black Girl Magic was like booming, but I didn't I love this space. I was like, this is amazing to see a space for Black women to feel liberated and empowered and things like that. Mm-hmm. But then I also was like, I don't really see the marketing of this including all types of women, you know what I'm saying? And I wanted to be recognized in all of my, all the parts of my personhood and in the experience that I'm engaging, which is non-traditional womanhood. It's like my masculinity is not separate from my womanhood. They don't repel one another. It's like it is a harmonious kind of experience that is not normative, so people don't always embrace it or understand it up front. So I started it because I just wanted to create a space that created some visibility. It's what I study in my research as well, like masculinity and womanhood, non-normative masculinities, and queer, trans, and non-binary people, and just kind of like saying there are masculinities, there's not one masculinity that belongs to men or that men need to even give me any effort to defend. Like you didn't do nothing to teach me this masculinity, so you can't take it from me. Just chill out. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody, when it comes to being masculine, they always compare it to men.
Always.
Oh, well, that's not masculine because men don't do it. Or that's, what I'm saying? Or it is
exactly
men do it. And I'm like, that's not how that works.
And my question always be, well, is masculinity, are you just automatically saying that masculinity is something that's harmful because you don't want to think outside of that? Like if masculinity belongs to men, then you have to attribute everything else that comes with men to it as well. So like men being the number one domestic abusers and rapists of women, that has to be associated with masculinity because it is with men. So many other things. And I'm like, there are embodiments of masculinity that don't have to lean on manhood because we ain't learning from them niggas. You know what I'm saying? I knew when I was masculine as a little girl, even before I could get anyone to explain to me what the fuck I was feeling. I just knew, don't put me in no dress.
Straight up.
I ain't wearing nothing frilly on my collar, nigga. Don't put that shit in my hair. Like,
I cried one time. I was like, I think it was my 6th birthday. It was like either my 5th or 6th birthday. And I had I walked downstairs and I had like all my presents and shit. Like, I mean, not downstairs, down the hallway, and I had all my presents and shit. And there was a black trash bag, and it was full. So I waited for that to be like the last jump I opened. Right. I remember some of the stuff I got, y'all. I got a basketball height. I got a
big
height. I got some type of games. You know what I'm saying? Regular shit. I'm looking at that black trash bag like, let's go. Right. But when I go to it, I remember my mom was a little bit like hesitant. Like she was just like, all right, that's from your aunt. It was from my aunt on my dad's. It was from my aunt on my dad's side.
Mm-hmm.
I opened that shit. It was full to the top with doll babies.
Oh my God.
Only doll babies. Only doll babies. I literally started crying. I was like, I saved it for last.
You feel me? And that shit just brought you off your high, for real. Brought you straight down.
I ain't need like the rest of my presents. It took all that shit away. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like,
damn,
if I already got my basketball and I already got my shoes and I already got my games, what could this be? You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like people be trying to like really act like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's something. I'm like, why would we choose to just like embrace some shit that's gonna make y'all talk shit to us. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just
Exactly.
something that's innate. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just
Mm-hmm.
shit in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn,
Exactly.
like, relax. And mine shouldn't threaten yours that much. You know what I'm saying? Like, nor should like mine like not be able to exist how you said, like with like the black girl.
Don't have to be compared.
You know what I'm saying? We don't really have nowhere. Everybody always looking at us like we doing some shit we ain't supposed to be doing. And I'm like, you saying we ain't supposed to be doing it, but that's just like, that's my instinct. Like, that's just kind of what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
You change and shit, and I don't really fuck with that.
That's what I mean when I say ain't nobody have to teach us that. You know what I'm saying? It ain't like, that's the difference between, you know, a father-son relationship and, you know what I'm saying, me being able to inherently bloom in my masculinity. Because I didn't have, you know, somebody like affirming my masculinity in a way that meant, or me personally, I didn't have somebody affirm my masculinity in a way that meant, like, if this shooting, that's cool. You know, it was like, you need to be delivered, or you need to be this, or let's pray for this child, or whatever else. And tomboy years are only acceptable up to a certain age. And then niggas is like, all right, now, like,
What's going on?
We let you hoop now.
Where's your boyfriend at?
Where your man at? I don't see
You know
you
what?
bringing no Valentine cards and shit.
So what you was just saying right there, like, I agree with what you just said, but I also halfway through it, I thought you were going a different direction, because it's something that I'm gonna just take from it. You know what I'm saying? Because our masculinity is just something that is like internal. You know what I'm saying? It's something that we have to like develop ourselves, and we're developing it as women. I do feel like that's just like an interesting topic in itself, because that takes away a lot of the toxic side, you know what I'm saying, that does come with
Absolutely.
like that typical father-son relationship, like that, this shit with Boosie, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
It takes that away. Granted, on the flip side, I did get chastised quite a bit, you know what I'm saying, like, for my lack of femininity, but nobody was like, you know what I'm saying, like, I can't cry. So now I have my masculinity, you know what I'm saying, and I'm able to process my emotions because I was allowed to.
Right. That's what I mean by that. So when I say affirm my masculinity, I meant like the ways that it existed complexly with my womanhood. You know what I'm saying? It was like, nah, you're not supposed to be masculine. So that's what you need to work on pushing away or moving out. And I felt like within my own experience, that's why I had to kind of like deconstruct what masculinity was in the world as models, which was by men, which is the Boosies and everybody else. But how was it existing in me? How could I tell my story so that a nuanced version of masculinity is archived? Like, how can I put that out there so it's not like, I hate gendered clothing for that reason. If it's not men's clothing, if it fits my body, okay? Because I ain't no man.
Yo,
you feel me?
And not to get into religion or nothing like that, you know what I'm saying? To God be the glory all the time. But when you get like some religious people and they're so upset, you know what I'm saying, literally only at the idea of the whole cross-dressing thing. I'm like, it's fabric.
It's literally fabric.
You know what I'm saying? if the manufacturer decides that everything that we've known to date that has been in the women's section is no longer considered to be in the women's section, then what? You know what I'm saying?
Literally, Urban Outfitters does that shit all the time. If anything, you'd never think them crop top flower men's crops would ever be in the men's section. But they are, because it don't matter.
It don't matter. It's fabric. But do you look good? That's the question. Do you
like it or not?
Do you like it? Do you like it? Do the people that you trying to attract, do they like it? That's the only question. You know what I'm saying?
I think now, like, everything is becoming more fluid, you know what I mean? And people are kind of trying to find their way and like create themselves and see what feels actually comfortable to themselves rather than, you know, because our whole life we've been told that this is what you're supposed to do. If you're a girl, you do this. If you're a boy, you do this. And now you have people who are like non-binary and they're like, I'm neither. So, you know, like I want. So I think it's really cool that people are kind of like trying to find themselves.
But you know what's crazy too is that like we can't even see the flaws in even how, like, think about a baby, right? Like we first of all, straight people seem to think that us as queer, gay, lesbian, however we identify on the spectrum, that we don't know how to reproduce. That's the number one thing. We don't know. We cannot procreate. Therefore, we doing the wrong thing. That's the first thing. But think about when a baby is born. You have a doctor tell you there's a penis or vagina there, and then you decide what their favorite color is. You decide what they're going to like to wear, whether they're going to like sports, what careers they eligible for, just because you saw their genitalia or heard what kind of genitalia they had from a baby.
Yep.
I'm like, none of that builds any of that. But y'all decided that that's how y'all was going to know. Oh, it's a penis child, so they like blue. They like football.
And this vagina child, so she likes pink and she likes frills. Like,
I ain't never liked pink.
So hard,
never.
So hard for people to like remove themselves from that, because like my niece, who I thought was coming yesterday, she ain't here. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But like when we go to the store and shit, like I be watching my sister and my mom like battle it out, right? Because my sister, she one of them, like she girly and everything, but she's not like she don't like pink. She do not like the frills and all of that shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard for my mom to wrap her mind around it, because my mom is in there. She just like, oh, my grandbaby, all that. You know what I'm saying? Like all that shit. And then it's just like she probably did the same thing for me. Matter of fact, she did. Like I had there's a lot of pictures. Every time I see one, I try to shred it. That way it's not, can't nobody find it no more, but they just popping up. Y'all used to have me doing fucking pageants and just like modeling and shit.
Nah, we need like, those not to be destroyed.
No, every time I see one, I shred that bitch.
Hey, let me see it before you shred it though, bro.
Man, thread. No,
ain't a little private thread with just us. A little private thread.
Man, this like I ain't gonna leak it.
What's wild is, like, I remember, like, and this is a memory that I haven't grabbed in a while, but I'm grabbing it right now. I remember fucking being in that shit, and I had to put on my clothes to go do the modeling. And it's not like I didn't want to model. Obviously, I like taking pictures, and I like people taking pictures of me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that ain't nothing new. It's just, like, I remember this one guy, there was a pose that he did, and I was so mad because I wanted to do that pose. I wanted to go put on like a fit so I could do that pose. He was like leaning on a chair. He put his foot up and like leaning up there like this. And I was like, bro, that's such a dope pose. And I got to go do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, bro, I don't want to do that. And you assuming I want to do that. Ain't nobody asked me what I wanted my direction to be. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? For this shoot. Nobody cared until like I really started to like kind of demand, you know what I'm saying? Like from my parents, like, no, I want to go get my stuff from over there.
Yeah.
You know like that's what I want. I want to do this. All that shit, man. The shit, I don't know. It's crazy. It really is so, it's so like imposed, man. Like, and so people don't ever even get the chance to figure out what they actually like.
And it takes a lot of decolonization on the parts of our parents, who come from histories that probably didn't allow them to even ever explore their own sexuality. Like, what does it mean to explore the freedom of your sexuality if when you're born something else is impressed upon you? Like, I saw this tweet one time that said queer people are already inherently taught to be something else and have to get back to themselves. Like, our lives are learning to get back to ourselves because we're taught that, like, you're supposed to be this way, and then we have to be like, actually, no, I don't like that. And then kind of build our own selves up, because you can't force if somebody don't like no fucking frilly ass dress. You know what I'm saying?
That was actually one of our questions. Like, what has helped you embrace your identity, and like, how do you get other people on board, or how do you express it to your family and friends? You know what I mean? Like, how do you become okay with it? And how you get others to be okay with it, or try like explaining it to them?
No, that's a great question. I think for me, it's just like living as free as I know how. You know, like I don't ever want to be a person who out here faking, not for no brand, not for no nothing. You know what I'm saying? I'm on my business, and I try to show up for community as often as possible. I feel like even in the ways that I live my life, I want to be able to, I want to feel like I'm living as my most authentic self, because even as different as each of us all are, all of us are the same in some ways too. So it's like if I'm vulnerable and honest about my experience in the world, somebody else also might connect to that. Like my life's purpose is to continue these connections. And so for me, it's like just every single day being present with the honest light every day. And it don't always feel good. You know what I'm saying? I was raised in the Pentecostal church, so obviously my family they ain't rocking with me too much. You feel me? So there's parts of it that still hurt and still are tender, but I had to understand that family is extended beyond blood. And you can't force somebody to do something they don't want to do. You know, you got to, for me, the healing came in knowing my niggas was also my family. You know what I'm saying? A lot of my peers who I, do research with, or queer scholars that I meet, or even doing shit like this, you know what I'm saying? I gain new homies all the time, and I keep them close to my heart. I'm not the type nigga when I feed the homeless, I ain't recording it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not one of those that's like wanting my whole life on display, but I also just love living an authentic life and knowing that I'm out here, being the best version of myself every day. So I always just try to keep people encouraged and, try to be accessible to the community as often as I can and just go from there, I just want to live an honest life.
Be true to yourself. Whoever rock with you, who don't, who don't. At the end of the day, like, you can't make
that's
them
right.
Fuck with you.
Right. That's my only thing about that's hard with the masculine community is like, I don't be knowing what this little pit bull syndrome shit we be getting sometimes. Like we in the opposite corners of the room, waiting to strike at each other. Like I kind of want to dead that shit. It's so annoying because like a lot of times when I do want to connect with community or whatever, it gets mad, like it gets finicky, it gets weird because the same kind of disconnection from communication or emotional vulnerability or whatever just doesn't show up a lot of times in our community because
like this unsaid competition for whatever reason.
For no reason. Literally no reason. It never be no reason, dog. It just happens, and I kind of just I always wonder about that, and that's a part of like when I do see that happen, I feel like I got some type of contact. You know what I'm saying? I'm also the type nigga that walk up to you and be like, "What's good?" or shake your hand or something.
Yeah.
Let me buy your drink. Like, calm down. Like, really, it's like, calm your ass down, nigga. Like, you ain't gotta be. You all gotta be doing all that. Yeah.
I just don't got to, and I need you to feel how unnecessary you being right now.
Literally, I'm a regular nigga for real.
That's it. Like I'm just here, just like you are. I'm waiting for my beer too.
Lex, so how you feeling? Yeah, so it's. She said, "How you feeling?" But that's kind of how I rock with it. Also, I want to make sure that I don't misuse pronouns. Y'all both she, her, or
yeah.
All right, same. All right, just checking in with you.
That was, man, because like when I get into too many details, like I had there was a situation the other day where like it was mad aggressive. Like sometimes I feel like when people do like that, the pronoun check you just did right there, it's like it's less I don't know, man. It's like less about like just trying to like make sure shit's smooth and like I don't know, it becomes like more of a thing. Like I ain't never seen like that shit before. I'm trying not to like.
You mean
like,
you?
I don't know, like wild out
say a certain thing.
Huh?
So you feel like they're expecting you to say a certain thing, and then when you
for sure. Oh, I know that they be expecting me to say a certain thing. Because the issue that I be running into a lot of times with trans men specifically, I don't know many trans women, is that like my natural masculinity kind of be almost excessive. Like I do be laughing sometimes trying to figure out like what the fuck I would do if I was like innately feminine but like in this body. I don't know what the hell would happen. Like y'all see my hands? I got a big head. You know what I'm saying? My hands is big and all that shit. So like everybody kind of like I know that they'd be expecting, but then afterwards it's kind of like I get like I don't know, man. That competition there, it's like it intensifies, man. At least like
you talking about trans men like in masculine women.
Yeah, man. Like the shit. Like,
oh yeah, no, I mean it's true. It's true. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I check on pronouns because for me, I want to make sure that I don't, offend nobody else. But also, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I only give a fuck about pronouns with regards to other people, because I hate pronouns and how it determines whether or not you are or not a particular thing. Like, I'm like, which one be called? Like, you feel me? Like,
yeah,
I want to get that out the way because
yeah,
I never want to. But for me, I'm feeling like pronouns could fluctuate because it's like there's so many different types of women in me. You know what I'm saying? There's so many different types of experiences in me. I'm not like a monolithic experience whatsoever. I'm not linear in any capacity. And so
okay.
I just be like, I'm gonna be who I am. And if you decided that because I identify as this or that you was going to construct who I am based on that, that's your business, not mine. You didn't ask me who I am.
That's
Right.
such a healthy stance. I feel like that takes away some of that like aggression. You know what I'm saying? Like that
People
comes.
attack you about some pronouns, like
People will
legit.
attack you about the pronouns and all of that stuff, and
They'll
then like
attack it.
sometimes like the way it comes across, because the situation in particular, I'm gonna just be as vague as I possibly can. It just
Yeah.
involved like kind of like a pronoun check thing or whatever, but like it was a room full of cisgendered straight people that didn't really understand like what was going on. So they were literally like trying to just like ask for like clarity and shit like that.
Oh,
But
I see.
but so me being there, I can see two sides. You know what I'm saying? Like I can see their lack of understanding because like I knew these folks. I didn't know these folks, you know what I'm saying? But like I can also understand you might be a little bit I don't know, you might be on edge.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Because like it's an unfamiliar space, you're trying to establish it. But like
Yeah.
here, they're literally just trying to like make sure everything is smooth. But their energy was not the energy that you just had. It wasn't just. It almost felt like they were attacking us, so that we would then in turn like give them the reaction that like give them a turned up reaction, so they could be like, boom, see, that's what I'm talking about. You don't care to understand and all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But it was just like, nah,
Right.
it's none of that.
Yeah.
It's none of that. Like, just relax. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, people have to be willing to like
be open
and educate. And I'm like, if you are okay with yourself, because I'm like, it's unless you are like blatantly disrespecting me, you're not finna make me uncomfortable about myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not finna, I know me. So you asking me questions ain't finna turn me up. My stance is not gonna change because I am who I am. And like you said, you can accept it or you cannot. I feel like once it gets to the point where it's just like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot of energy. I feel like that's kind of like an internal thing. You gotta get to the point where you know that you know what I'm saying? Like, you good with yourself. Whoever you are at any given time, you know what I'm saying? Like, everything is cool, but you got to know that you cool. That way you go out here, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you are ready to like have the conversations and shit like that. You know
I see what you're
like,
saying.
you can stand
I
firm.
see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? Because because that shit right there, like, that makes it difficult. And I'm like,
that's true. That's true. And I think that a lot of what you're saying resonates because I think we've done this thing where we've compartmentalized queerness and humanity. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not out here trying as queer people. We out here and representation matters and pronouns matter for who it matters to, but we're not out here to defend ourselves. And the world has made us think we in battle all the time.
All the time.
And so then we get to this point where from my experience of a lot of things with regards to like a particular defensiveness or whatever, because you're not going to disrupt my peace if I don't give you access to, you know what I'm saying? That's just my own personal, thing is like, if I don't give you access to me to even permeate a space that would turn me up, that's your energy you want to use for yourself, trying to come at me, because I'm not really interested in giving that back to you. But I noticed that even at conferences, especially in academia, man, let me tell you, it's like people are waiting to see another human being mess up so that they can be a particular kind of victim.
Yep.
And for me,
God,
I'm just saying, I mean,
right
I'm
there,
gonna keep it 100
it
with
is.
you. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. You know what I'm saying? And I think I think for people for vulnerable identities and people who have also experienced histories of trauma, because we queer people, we black people, we black women. That's a particular kind of legacy, and I understand that the ways that we experience the world and show up in the world can really hold some harmful impact.
Yes.
But the one thing I want us to be able to do is to separate the difference between I have to defend or explain myself to you and you don't know shit about who I am. And it probably helps to have a conversation if I have the capacity. I always feel like in my personhood, like before I have a conversation, I'm like, I need to know the room. I need to know who I'm in space with. These motherfuckers don't know shit about me.
Yeah.
They don't know who I am. This is a workshop they probably paid to come to or whatever. They don't know shit. So now I'm sitting here and I'm trying to be my full self in a room full of people who think I probably shouldn't exist. Honestly. You're going to get the dumbass questions. You're going to get people fucking up pronouns, all of these things. And I ain't saying you should have to not say nothing at all. But keep in mind that each one of these humans didn't ask to not have any access to LGBTQ folks in their lives. Like they didn't ask to be dumb as fuck about queerness. Right. So we have to be gentler with each other.
Right, because it becomes evident whether the intent is malicious or not. If it is not malicious and you want people to have an understanding, then you have to understand that the understanding has to come from somewhere. And it's going to take a specific type of person, you know what I'm saying, like with a whole lot of extra investment to go do some external research that you could just provide yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and the research don't be right. A lot of I'll be right. Like, when you Google stuff, when you Google stuff, it's still a bunch of white men telling queer people who they are. Like, it bothers me to a T.
And they
will be like, Google is free, but I'm like, I'm asking you. Like,
no, I'm asking you. Genuine curiosity. I'm not being an asshole. I'm not being a dick. I'm not being facetious. Just answer the question for me, please.
I think it's a communication thing. It has to be a point where it's like, all right, you don't want to answer this question. You also don't have to, player. But you don't got to talk to me. You don't got to talk to me wow either. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Google it. I had somebody, I remember, like, I swear, I had somebody that it was, you know what I'm saying? I identify as a trans person because I'm non-normative. That's what trans means to me. It means non-normativity. It don't mean you got to take hormones because you were born with a vagina and you're a man. That's, transness is so much more nuanced than there are people who think, if you ain't taking hormones, you don't identify on the trans spectrum at all. And I'm cool with however they see the world. You ain't gonna tell me who I am, but whatever. So I'm like, my biggest thing, I got into a conversation with a trans man on Twitter a while back. It was a few years actually. And I kind of felt, I was feeling some things about the conversation they were having because they were blaming masculine women for something, for like a particular kind of violence, I believe, that was coming up for trans men. Mm-hmm. And, I was like, as a trans identified person, I would love to hear more about XYZ experience and how that relates to the connection of masculine women or whatever. Like, how can I show up for you and know how I need to be supported as well? Can we have a dialogue? It's like, I don't owe you an explanation. Google it if you need to know, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, whoa. I was like, a better way that we could kind of defend our capacity. If you had max capacity and you just needed to vent on Twitter, cool. You just want to be seen, cool. But the way that you could have responded to me was at least keeping dignity intact for me by saying that I wasn't just some lazy nigga that came to bother you. You said a thing on a public platform that I'm responding to. So I want to be able to meet you where you are. And I also want to be seen. Straight up. Don't talk to me crazy.
Straight up, because the situation I'm talking about, like the group of people. So I knew like the people that were already there. Like I said, I didn't know the queer individuals that came in. They came in and like the whole vibe was chill, and then they came in like doing a pronoun check, which is cool, you know what I'm saying? And appreciate it, because you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, cool.
You don't know.
Normalize it, let's get it out the way. Everybody, that way everybody comfortable, everybody cool. But there was so much aggression that came with it, it immediately felt like that workshop. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that. So they were like, oh shit. whoa, like we was just trying to say, hey, how y'all doing? And like the whole shit didn't change. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
And immediately the tone and the reaction is the same as the interaction you talking about on Twitter. And I'm like, that don't work. Like you can't, like that don't work. That's not fair. You know what I'm saying? Like they really, like, I don't know. That
I think
like,
and I get it because it's disproportionate. I get and I empathize with, and I feel like you do too, Kay. Like we empathize with the extent of violence that people in these identities have that we've all suffered as well. Like, but the problem is I'm like, I feel like there's this weird leveling of who got it worse that we be doing.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to figure out who got it worse, you then are trying to figure out who's at the bottom of this pyramid and who's at the top. And I feel like privilege placing and all of these other things reinforce a lot of the narratives that we're trying to dismantle. So what I'd like to see community doing is like having regard for people's humanity that have never heard of your experience, making sure that we are connecting to being in spaces where we are with people that are like us, or that we're constantly learning and evolving. Because what happens is when we defend a thing, we've also gotten a fixed representation for how this identity is supposed to look or be. And that's a part of like, it goes up against the idea that identity and queerness and sexuality is fluid as well. It's like, it's okay to have curiosity. Whiteness taught us that we weren't supposed to ask questions. We're supposed to go with the program. Guess what? That ain't how I rock. I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you straight up. But you, as a human being, do have the right to always say, I don't have capacity to answer this question at this time, but I appreciate you asking, or whatever.
While still being humane, still having manners, still, it's because all of that matters. The delivery on both sides is so important. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so important.
We got to learn how to de-escalate things without like getting a big head or an ego or victimizing ourselves in a lot of ways. And you know, people ain't gonna like me saying that on the podcast, but I'm gonna keep it real. Like, you know what I'm saying? We humans first. In the universe, I learned the hard way that you'll miss a whole blessing trying to keep these categories up that the universe don't recognize. God don't know black, white, gay, whatever, but the experiences on this earth, I gotta know who I am in this system to survive a white system, but I also got to know who I am outside of it that don't fit into these to keep my languages. Spirit intact.
I cannot lose my spirit because all this other shit going on out here, and everybody trying to tell me, you know what I'm saying, like, you know what I'm saying, I don't need all of that.
It's so much different language now, you know, coming up for people kind of creating their identity. So it's different language coming up, and not everybody understands it. So people are curious, and it's like, at the same time, I can understand people getting upset about constantly having to explain themselves, you know. But
me too.
Yeah. So
and it's also a matter of like, when you do, there's those of us that have the capacity, and there's those of us that don't, and that's just as simple as that. So I feel like, but we can still have a conversation about how we're showing up for one another. It's still okay to have a conversation like this where we're like, fam, you don't have to talk to me like that to tell me you don't have capacity to answer this question. You don't got to be trying to curve me and send me to Google to try and embarrass me on a public platform. You feeling yourself that much? I'm gonna give you something to feel yourself about, because I don't take being disrespected too well.
Disrespect is disrespect.
That's straight up. I don't care how old, whatever. Yeah. So,
and my problem is
be gentler.
There's so many words out here you can use. Use the right ones. Like, you know what I'm saying? Don't come at me south.
Use the right tone. Work on that. Work on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and like I said, both sides. You know what I'm saying? Like, at all, no matter what, at all times, always be thinking about your delivery as a person. As a person that has
from one human to another.
Human to another. Just work on your delivery, because if we all do that,
we be straight.
We be straight. We all just work on our delivery just a little bit.
Right. Because I feel like respect is foundational for even pushing progressive ideology forward, or ideas about humanity. It's like, how do we know how changed the world could be if we all just trying to trap our experiences to ourselves and defend it to the other side? It's like, we also have to be willing to speak our needs. No, I don't have the capacity to answer this for you. Okay, on to the next.
Yeah.
But if you like, man, Google that shit, I don't gotta explain nothing to you. You just immediately made me hostile, and now I'm about to drag you. You feel me? Like, and I have to turn myself down in that
And
regard. I'm like, I know the person I am.
Now the next person like you they may not even have a fair shot because you just had me fucked up. So I'm gonna assume that they gonna have me fucked up. And like that's where the harm comes in. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like you do that, and then like let's say it's not a group of like good, like you know what I'm saying, like good-hearted people that really just want to like develop another that. You know, like that in itself could perpetuate violence. Like so you can't control other people, no. So and people are gonna do fucked up shit. People are gonna react in fucked up ways and all that shit.
Right.
But just control you better.
Right, because you can't control any of the other factors in the world at all.
Nope.
You really can't. And so it does take being conscious of your own introspective work and how you respond to the things that happen in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like none of us ask for the violence we endure. I definitely don't ask for the niggas that's always commenting to me on a daily jog or fucking at the gym or whatever. Somebody always saying something about my ass. Some saying something about my whatever. But you know what I'm saying? I've established, especially in the gym, I've established a particular kind of like energy and way about myself that I'm like, y'all niggas know not to come over here with that shit. You know what I'm saying? I gave you the benefit of the doubt when you ain't know who I was. You thought I was one of these bum bitches that was gonna let you talk to them wild. but when I set a boundary, I expect you to be accountable to it. And that's where that's the limit with which I have respect for your humanity. Yeah. I set a boundary. You did some dumb shit. I set a boundary. I don't expect it again. Then we're gonna have problems if you do it again. But if you don't know where my boundaries lie, I feel like I can't really hold you to just this inherent. That's just like when women be wanting you to guess what they thinking. Like,
that work.
Come on, bro. I can't do that in love and in the regular world. One of us gonna have to figure. One of us gonna have to figure this shit out.
And that's fair. That's fair. Set a boundary. You respect it. If you don't, then you got me fucked up.
Yep.
Yeah. Then it's consequences. So that was a good question though, for sure. I like that question because it's hard to talk about. My biggest thing is it's been hard to talk about things that are politically disruptive. When somebody's like, you know, queer politics or trans politics or any of these things, like a particular way that we've been taught to innately respond to certain people or social groups or whatever. But I'm like, we all need to be able to speak to our experiences and the violences that occur within our communities as well. And in order to be progressive or to move to the next level of anything, we have to be uncomfortable in the shit we gotta fix. So yeah, I don't want you're not gonna talk to me wild. Like I'm telling you that straight up. And that's the end of it. You choose what you're gonna do with that after. If you feel like, oh, I need to cut you off because, you know what I'm saying, I told her that to go Google something and blah, blah, blah. And now she talking about she don't want to talk to me. Okay, we just not the same kind of people. Our energies don't link. Our frequencies is different. I'm cool with us parting ways. There's so many people that connect within the world. But it's only because you don't have the capacity to de-escalate yourself. Not me, because I ain't turn up at you.
Nope.
So that's where I leave it. You know, boundaries are very important.
I see the way that you be coming at people on well, I'm not gonna say coming at, but I see the tone you use, and it's like,
oh, I do. It's cool.
Well, when you ask a question, like I never, like when I see it, I'm like, that was a genuine question. Like it's not like you be trying to go at anybody sideways, and it's them that feels automatically disrespected, and it's like, oh, Google it, oh, you got me fucked up.
Even so, I still meet people where they're at. Initially, when I get somebody that gives me a response like, you know, oh, you need to go Google it, you know, I'm like, you know what? I asked you because I wanted this specific experience from you, but if you don't have the capacity, I understand that, and I'm gonna move along.
Yeah.
It's when it gotta turn into every other thing that I get annoyed, because I'm like, I'm an adult and I can meet people where they at too, but I'm not overcompensating your part of a connection to keep sustaining it, because I'm not your bitch. I'm not like I'm just not. I'm not.
Straight up.
So that's kind of where I'm at. I know, and I'm a Libra, so I'm a Libra sun. So like for me, I really do love to connect with people. And my rising is Leo, you know what I'm saying? So I'm cool. I'm a Libra sun, Aquarius moon, Leo rising. So my Aquarius moon is like, I'm done with the world, but I get a good balance of being a turtle in my shell, and also, you know what I'm saying, keeping up with the homies.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But that's kind of how it is. Respect all around or nothing.
Yeah. Fuck with that. Respect all around.
Okay. So let's hop into your podcast though. You also started
For
the Black
sure.
Rebellion podcast. What made you start a podcast, or what's
so all right, so the podcast is completely being rebranded right now, and that's why no episodes have gone up after the first one. First, the pandemic completely shut down all my gigs for the summer, everything. I'm like, you know what I'm saying, trusting the universe right now too. Thank God to be good and have resources and have community right now. But the podcast itself was exactly what we're talking about. It is the positing of all the conversations we refrain from having because we feel like, you shouldn't say stuff about that. This is going to be affected. It's like, as a human being, I could ask a question about anything I want. It's a matter of respecting the humans or the experiences while you're in those conversations that matter. And so that's what I started the podcast to do, is to, from a masculine lens, kind of dismantle some of this dumb shit that people think they know about us. You know what I'm saying? That we also objectifying women, that we're also like not capable of holding on to lasting connections, that we're cheaters and this and that, like all of these dumb narratives that don't make no sense, and kind of link our experiences to that of men. I'm like, if you trying to treat a masculine woman like a man, you gonna get a man's response, like, because that's the model. That's like, for me, it's like the first model that I knew that was masculine was probably like basketball or like particular type sneakers, stuff that was acceptable for me to have, and also like have my parents or my like people in my life not be super alarmed initially. But then it was like, you know what I'm saying, I would see my father walk, or I noticed like a lean in myself just normally, like I had a natural little lean to me when I walked or whatever it was like I wanted to be able to trace back the things that developed in me as masculinity, so I knew what parts were mine and what parts I had just absorbed from the men around me. And I needed to separate my experience from that to be able to say my masculinity was inherent. It wasn't something I learned from these niggas. And so with that being said, I needed to be able to talk about my experience and not have male characteristics projected onto me in the midst of that. So it's definitely a journey, like an unraveling almost, to be able to find yourself in it. And so that's basically what the podcast was doing, was kind of like curiosity as strategy for collective liberation of masculine identified people. So the pandemic slowed us down, definitely, but I definitely will be releasing the next episode in the next couple of weeks, and there might be a little name change to the podcast, maybe.
I was gonna say, what made you choose the Blackwater Rebellion? So you gonna change it?
My partner, we were coming up with names or whatever, and when she said it, she just said it randomly. When she said it, I was like, oh shit, that's dope, and it kind of stuck with me. But I got a little something swift that I'm gonna switch it to, because I kind of got a whole new feel for a non-normative masculinities podcast, especially because, man, y'all should see some of the questions I get, for real. I even got a little portion I'm doing that's like, you know what I'm saying, bringing on single masc women and having a live podcast show so that we can, like, you know what I'm saying, get some masc women falling in love. A lot of women don't know where we at.
Yeah.
You feel me?
And we get a lot of questions too about, like, how do masc women, where do y'all meet masc friends, or, you know what I'm saying, how do you go about dating, and from starting this podcast, I've noticed there's so many of us, you know what I'm saying, and we can actually be cool. It ain't always got to be beef, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's dope. We definitely need our own space, you know what I'm saying, let know people we're here. So yeah, I fuck with that.
No doubt. Did you I didn't want to stop you if you had another question you was trying to throw at me.
Nah, man. We got the questions that they submitted, so we can hop into those and we'll wrap it up. We've been chatting. It's been like an hour and some change.
I know. It was smooth though. It was good talking with y'all.
Y'all good people. Appreciate y'all starting off my day like this.
Yeah, I know. All right, so one of the questions was, what are your opinions on different labels for masc lesbians? For example, the term stud and STEM has a historical context rooted in slavery. However, lots of non-Black people use this term to describe themselves. What are your thoughts? So I guess
think we need. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think my personal opinion, I'm not speaking for nobody else. I ain't no, guru on masculinity, and I don't posit myself as a person that is such. But I think that when language evolves, we evolve with it. You know what I'm saying? Nigga also is slavery, but you're not gonna get me to stop saying nigga. Like, these my niggas. Like, it's like context matters with regards to language, and the English language is so limited that I'm like, all this shit was made up. And I remember a quote by Toni Morrison. It was either Toni Morrison or Audre Lorde, but she was like, the definers, like, are the people who, like, definitions are for the definers, not the defined. So basically, like, even this language of, lesbian, or this, or that, it's like, it's because of whatever construct was made that made you feel like you fit into that based on your experience. But you could call it a frog. You could call it whatever you wanted to call it. It's like, language is so limited in that way. So when I think of like STEM and stud and things like that, I'm like, it also has other contexts, and words mean more than just the one historical context we sometimes often want to pull up to change how we use language. Yeah. But as language evolves, I feel like respect the ways people have embraced things. You know what I'm saying? Queer wasn't always language that was used that was good. You know what I'm saying? Use look at them queers over there, or whatever, it was used to weaponize the fact. But guess what? Now it's liberatory, and it's damn near an umbrella term to talk about every other identity. I identify as queer because I'm like, whoever I shapeshift into, y'all gonna respect my shit. You're not gonna tell me that, oh, she used to be this, now she that. I'm like, I'm whoever I am. Like, oh, don't tell me. Don't tell me nothing. So since people can't respect that, it's kind of like you need the labels so that people know how to treat you and they approach you, or so that you fit into this group of people or that. I'm like, I'm just a person who understands myself to be fluid in my sexuality, my presentation. I know how I like to be. I know how I like to dress. I know how I feel in my body and who I'm attracted to. And that only matters to me and who I'm fucking. That's it. Like, it doesn't, I don't need to be anything for anybody else. So I think language is always going to be limited like that. And I just want us to be able to be who feels like we can label and name what feels good to us. Mm-hmm. I believe that harm comes when we're trying to define things to an extent of no one else is able to also identify with this if they're different than us. So that's how I feel about the language piece, though. What y'all think?
You said it well, man. Dyke, a lot of people find it offensive. Like, I can barely promote on Instagram because people have like tagged it as offensive, posting or whatever. So I think, like, you gotta just respect language and how it evolves,
And when people do that to you, dog, like, I really feel like I'd be like, do you know that if you're offended by this, and if you don't identify as this, that means this space not for you. That's what it means. It don't mean I need to stretch. It means you need to find a space that's for you. Like, I'd be so sick of that shit. It's like, oh, these people, they call them dykes, but the people, I'm not that. I'm like, I understand, baby. That means, you know how many other podcasts, you know how many other spaces.
Literally, a million other podcasts.
Like, you have to find the spaces you rock with, but don't tear down each other's spaces. I don't like that shit at all. Don't come tearing down other queer spaces because you decided that you were hurt or harmed by language that didn't fit your particular life. That means you gotta find your spaces or build them yourself. I built Black Girl Masculine because I knew Black Girl Magic was not about to make a masculine presenting marketing campaign for us.
It's so crazy. They wasn't overlooked like all the time and everything.
All the time. And look, and I'm gonna say this straight up. Another thing that kind of made me feel a lot of things was that the representation for masculine women didn't come before the overlap of womanhood and trans men, or in what is it called? Like feminine hygiene products. I'm not sure of the liberatory language to use that would be neutral for inclusivity of trans men. But like hygiene products for feminine body people or whatever. That was something that I really felt some type of way about, because it was like, as people who identify as women also, there was never any overlap between the connection to us being worthy of marketing, because we were kind of this liminal identity. Like people still understood us to be women in a lot of capacities, but then also there were like these one-off situations where we would overlap with masculinity that would have somebody calling us sir or whatever else. Yeah. But when I would see kind of like this pushing forward of like representation and things like that didn't include us as well, I kind of started to feel a way socially about how we were kind of overlooked in a lot of movement work and a lot of feminism.
Yeah.
All of that. So I'm always hoping that when we get representation and things like that, they're also including identities that may be liminal. You know what I'm saying? We're not trying to be men, but we also embody masculinity, and it needs a thing. That's what I talked about in my TED Talk,
Yeah, great TED Talk. And if y'all haven't watched, go watch Nalo's TED Talk on YouTube. It's definitely dope.
Mm-hmm. And I
think Lena Waithe is like the only masked woman in Hollywood right now, and so she catches so much shit, of like,
yeah, she caught shit from me too.
Yeah, because that's the problem. Because one
expects her to represent everybody, and I'm like, talking from her experience, you know, about whatever she writes about. Like, did y'all watch the show 20s?
I watched it a little bit. It's all right.
It's all right, but not everybody. A lot of people don't feel like she's genuine, and I'm like, that's just one person. If you don't fuck with her, don't fuck with her. But like, you can't expect her to everybody's story.
She ain't gonna be.
She not.
Everybody.
She not.
You know what I'm
That's true.
Yeah.
That was a huge thing for me too. It's like, if y'all don't want her to feel like she's like this masculine figure, then don't place her there. We had her on the pedestal because we wanted that representation. But I wanted to see Lena Waithe open up more production for masked women. That's why I love 20s. That's why I wanted to see more of that. But I had a conversation with Lena Waithe, especially when all that shit went down.
With shit, because she be in so much shit.
the first big thing was like
with the shot
and Jonathan, whatever his name is, Jason Mitchell. That's his name.
Harassing somebody or something like that.
Yeah, there was reports of sexual violences and harassment going on set, and that it was told multiple times, and they just kept rolling Jason Mitchell over, and that like, oh, she like paid for him to go to harassment training and all this other stuff, and just threw him back on set. And I'm like, these are some of the things that we have to consider with regards to like what's more valuable to us, Yep. Like, is this show worth the violence this Black woman had to endure? Shit like that. But so we had a conversation about that in a couple years back, or it was a couple years now. Like, but I just 2018 or 19.
I think it was 18.
One now. Yeah, it was 18. But I remember that because Lena actually, like, she was for real with it. At first she was like, people don't know the whole story, blah, blah. I was like, they never gonna know the whole story, Lena. Like, people are never gonna be able to fully see from the outside in, especially because of the ways media loves to stretch or manipulate or whatever. So you're not gonna always get the full absolute story, but your platform has to show that you took the steps necessary when you were aware of violence, especially because she was like, no, none of us were there to be able to, she said in the message, she was like, none of us were there to be able to determine what actually happened, blah, blah. I was like, you wasn't there for none of the Me Too stories you posted neither, but you supported them. You know what I'm saying?
So what's up? No, I was saying, so what's up?
Right, exactly. And I'm not one of those people that's trying to cuddle up under no celebrity neither. I'm like, all of us human beings, you know what I'm saying? Yep. Yeah, I'm trying to get this bag too, but I'm not trying to like do it through kissing your ass and not calling you out if you need it. Like, I'm blessed anyway, thanks. I can't really, I'm never gonna fake the funk for nobody or their millions. You know what I'm saying?
Chris Brown hit me up tomorrow. Like, I will pay you $10,000 a week to be my trainer, and I'll be like, nah, my nigga. Sorry about it, bro. Yeah. Sorry about it. We don't allow it, bro.
And call me call me flopping the bag then, because I just feel too strongly about it. You know what I'm saying? It's not at the expense of Black women. You know what I'm saying? You could do so much else in the world. You know what I'm saying?
And I might be able to give you a pass, but I can't give you a pass on that.
Right.
I cannot.
You feel me? I can't give you no pass. You know, so I see everybody, you know, still being fans of who they fans of, and I get that people in their celebrity platforms can be to a detriment. I get that too, and I'm with the complexity of how humans be with how they show up and who they love and all that. But I'm also strong about my own space, and I just keep it on my own space. You can't play Michael Jackson. You know what I'm saying? You can't. You feel me?
Come on,
R. Kelly. You can't play R. Kelly.
You best to know I'm finna turn up. Don't nothing though nothing that I pay for. Play that bit of no goddamn.
You better not. I won't even stay in the space.
I'm gonna turn the fuck up.
Turn it up. You hear me?
Okay. Next
but I do hope that Lena Waithe, you know, is doing well and all that, because she do be trying kind of magnetic to the drama. So shout out to Lena Waithe. Hope she good.
Yeah.
she got a hard way, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's
no doubt.
I respect it for what it is. Like, a first TV show with a Black masked woman as the star or sending around, you know, it's not gonna represent everybody. That's not gonna be everybody's story, but at least the story. You know what I'm saying?
And just because people saying she's not. Do you say people say she's not like authentic or something like that?
Yeah.
How you know? You know what I'm saying?
That's
like, just because
what's authentic.
That's right. That might be her.
That's right.
Just because that ain't you, don't mean that, you know what I'm saying?
Or because you romanticized her.
Yeah. Right. Because Dej Loaf, when she first came out, I was like, oh shit, what's up? We got a stud, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. And then I was like,
that's not. So
or Coop too. Hey yo, I like Coop, dog. Coop, but you know, I fuck with Coop too, but Coop a little softer than I probably would have been in a lot of the situation. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And
I'm cool with that.
In the past, I'll be quick to be like, man, fuck this nigga, man. God damn.
Straight up.
But that ain't it.
Nigga. That ain't on my nerves. It's not.
That ain't it. I had to check myself on that shit too.
Question. A lot of people of color or queer people of color have white partners or only date white people. Why do you think this is?
I mean, I mean, they could date the whites. I'm not, but if that's how they feel, you know what I'm saying? I feel like a lot of people, you know, I don't be knowing about people preferences and stuff. I politically am just not attracted to white women. So that's just never been my particular cup of tea. But I respect people who, you know, I feel like love is one of those things that's not, that doesn't have the hard boundary that we politically place on it in the world. You know what I'm saying? People can be attracted to who they want. I personally just think Black women are the most beautiful women in the world. So, yeah. And also my partner is mixed race. So, you know, her mother is white and her father is Black. So I understand that, like, there's complexity in all of this. I didn't ask for who I fell in love with. It happened, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
as long as it's not like some self-hate, and you know what I'm saying, like you specifically targeting that and trying to force something, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's the only time that it gets a little iffy, and that's across the board. That's queer, not queer, and everything in between. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just gotta like make sure that you loving yourself. But you, like you said, I can't choose who I love at all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
My uncle, he
I tried to mute the damn computer so my notification shut up. I mute y'all too.
He dates white men. And so I asked him, I said, why you don't date Black guys, you know? And he said that with white men, he feels like he has more freedom to be himself rather than dating someone else Black, because they have like more expectations of what being Black is and, you know, how you go about navigating society. So I'm like, I don't know if I agree, but I can understand that he feels
right, if that's your experience. Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
Right. So. I think with situations like that though, because I ain't even gonna fake, man. Like, nobody knows this except for maybe my partner and the people I worked with. But I've done couples counseling for maybe 5 or 6 years on and off. Because I essentially the universe has posited love as a superpower in my spirit. Like from healing a relationship to even establishing if it's a healthy connection for me to stay in. That's just my forte. You know what I'm saying? So when I think about connections that are limited to, oh, I don't date Black people because, or I don't date this because, you kind of have already created a limited world with which you're able to even accept a variety of experiences or possibilities for connecting. So I'm like, you might not like the fact that Black people are probably have the lowest tolerance for your bullshit, like, or you might not like or you might not like that, like, Black people are a little tougher than little nice Johnny up the road, okay, because we not really having it a lot of times. So I think I'm just somebody who is always like, everything needs to be particular to you. You know what I'm saying? If you feel like that the color of somebody is going to change the experience that you have in a particular way, follow that pattern and see if it works, and then try something different. Like,
because in the same breath, like when you I'm not saying that I agree with like any part of it necessarily, but I'm just saying, like, okay, let's say that you say that you don't date Black people because of the reasons that you said that he said. All right, okay, but as far as your Blackness in itself, do you still have the room to like express all of that? You know what I'm saying? Like if you leave the house with your do-rag on, you know what I'm saying? Like for your wave, and y'all go to the wrong place, is there like a side eye? You know what I'm saying? Do you need to make sure that, you know what I'm saying, like whoever you are pursuing, like romantically, you know what I'm saying, like whoever you're like kind of giving yourself to, that in all aspects you're able to be you know what I'm saying? Like, and that I don't think that you can just like lump you know complete demographics into anything. You have to you know what I'm saying? Like that doesn't, you gotta make sure that your person is cool with you being you as your person, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's where it's like you can't, I don't think,
it's true, man. For real. It's so true. But how do, and that's the thing that's so complex. It's like when we have, like, because I only date Black women, if I had heartache or a bad breakup or whatever with particular Black women, would that then make me conclude, oh, I can't date Black women because blah, blah, blah? It's like, you need to check who you connecting with. That's literally all you need to be checking out. You can't can't take it upon yourself to then take somebody's entire experience and say, I can't date this particular demographic because blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It's like, you have to be with how you're also feeding into systemic violences. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I feel like when people, it depends on there's different kinds of Black too, you know, it depends on the experience of your own Blackness, and you have to be affirmed in that. You know, you're not going to mesh with everybody that, you know what I'm saying? Like, even my partner and I, we have very different lived experience, you know what I'm saying? She didn't grow up in the hood.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I did. And she didn't grow up with certain, you know, there was just a different experience or different like quality of life. And I ain't saying that she didn't also go through the complexity of struggle, that she didn't also go through the complexity of you know, developmental differences from childhood till now or whatever, or her parents weren't whatever. Yeah. I'm saying that we have to account for every person in a very nuanced way. Because I'm nothing like, you know what I'm saying? I was raised in foster care. I'm nothing like the person I was supposed to be. But It's a matter of like, how do we connect? Like, people are so on a grand scale. I need this, 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 and that in a partner. I'm like, the first thing you need to be trying to figure out is, are you prepared to even hold sharing space with somebody else?
Are you
prepared? Do you have the capacity to be challenged and do your own introspective work instead of trying to win all the time? Are you still stuck in competitive space with your lover? Are you still arguing over dumb shit that don't matter? Can you recenter after you've been shifted left? Yeah. Like, all that emotional and you know, hard, challenging shit, foundation has to be communication, or y'all shit ain't gonna work. Straight up.
It don't matter.
It don't matter.
Work.
She could be fine as wine, baby. I done had them, okay? I'm telling you.
Yeah, so it's
So
like
I'm
you asking
telling
for all
you.
this stuff, you want all this stuff in a partner, but you got to make sure you're prepared to handle all.
Exactly. You cannot. You can't offer. You can't have a big circle, offer your space, and then not want to adjust your circle in any kind of way. Like this, you're not no dictator that's telling somebody how to serve you. You sharing love with somebody. Like,
Yep.
calm down.
Relax.
Relax.
Okay. Bring it down.
Yeah.
Bring
But
it
all right,
down.
we're gonna wrap it up. But yeah, thanks for coming
This was cool, man. This was cool.
For sure, man. It's so good to see you too, Kay. For real. Both of y'all, you two Lex. I'm glad we connected. And I definitely am going to return the favor as soon as I get this logo done is when I'm pushing out everything at the same time. But
let's go.
Now that I got all this time, I've been right now I'm in New Orleans, but I'm moving on June 1st to come to the Northeast for a little bit before going back to Detroit. That's where me and my girl live.
Okay.
So I definitely want you in the masculinity documentary. That's what I was going to close with is like, I'll be doing a tour. So when I get to DC, Maryland, Virginia, we're going to have to, get it together. We're going to have a look.
No doubt.
There you go. There go Lex right there.
What's going on, yo?
I don't know what happened. My shit went out.
I knew it. I was like, Lex wouldn't have just pieced out like that. But yeah, I wanted both of y'all to be part of the Black Girl Masculines documentary. And just like, I'm just excited to get some nuanced experience. I want to get you in the gym, Kay. I want you to be one of the features. We're going to be asking questions about everything from women to violences we've endured, as masculine women from men, because people seem to think we are absolved of violence because we masculine. I'm like, oh man, you ever told a nigga that his dick could change you? Okay, like, come on, bro.
I listened to your podcast and you just opened up with like the trauma and the violence that you experienced, and that shit like brought me to tears because like you never hear it from like a mass perspective. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, man.
So. Yeah,
and our people need to hear that because I feel like the separation from male masculinity and our masculinity is that like we real about our shit. We just gonna show up as we are, you know what I'm saying? And we not out here trying to pretend for the niggas standing next to us for the most part. No. Like, and that's something that men need the approval of other men, but masculine women, we still trying to figure out how to create community because we be like, I mind my business, you stay over there, I'm over here, but. Yeah. I just want to, that's what Black Girl Masculine is. It's like where to find those masked people, how to connect with community, creating events that are for us. I had this speed dating joint that was coming down in DC in the summer. It was going to be dope.
Damn, man.
Look.
Damn wrong, man.
Can you marry? I want to hear that.
I know, right? You good.
Say you married
for me.
It's fucking up all your plans.
It's still going to be dope, though, because, like, I told all my niggas, I was like, even if you got a shorty, like, you probably wouldn't do the speed dating, but come drink and dance and eat with us. Like, you know what I'm saying? Come by.
Probably burn her
definitely
too, you know what I'm saying?
I know. You got to. Hey, look.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Lex.
Let me see what she's talking about.
I'm just saying,
And you know what? I ain't even gonna fake. I had some bodies in the building too, bro. Woo. But we're going to talk about that another time. But I'm still going to do it. I'm just waiting for Rona to get her ass on so I can actually reserve something because everything got canceled. My reservations, my DJ canceled, everything because it's supposed to be for June. Yeah. But I'm still going to put something together like that because I want to get us together more often and all that.
For sure, man. Because it's all
definitely
exciting. I'm with it.
Yeah. Definitely, man. I definitely will. And thank y'all again for having me. I got mad love. Keep eating your food, Kay.
Right. You know how it goes.
Man, one of these days, I'm going to get a larger arm. One of these days. You know what I'm saying?
Come on now, let's go.
I got to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going.
A queer person made this hoodie. She got a clothing line called Breky Clothing. I just wanted to shout her out. Y'all go to the website, brekyclothing.com. I'm going to put it in the description. But yeah, we're just trying to support everybody. So
no doubt.
Right.
That's it, y'all. So thank y'all for tuning in. Check us out next week. Y'all hit up Nalo. What's your handle? IG handle?
It's most of my Twitter is at King Nalo Darling. So it's like Nola Darling, but switch the O and the A. And then at Nalo Darling on Instagram. So come holla at me.
Yo, y'all heard she got big things on the way, man. So y'all better do what you gotta do.
No doubt.
All right, y'all. Y'all have a blessed Saturday. Yeah.
All right, man. Peace.
Real quick, because I forgot to say this on the episode. As y'all see, Mary cannot make it this episode. Please do not ask where Mary is at, because she will be back the next episode. She just couldn't make it today. Also, wanted to remind y'all to like, comment, subscribe, retweet, repost, rate, share, tell your friends. We really would appreciate the support. And yeah, all right, y'all. Catch y'all next time.